Hey there, it's Matt again. So last week, I had the privilege of observing this one company's sales training course. I was hoping that since the last time I got to observe one, that things would have changed and they'd be teaching them not how to sell, but what really makes people want to buy. Well, unfortunately, it's just more of the same. I can't believe that these large companies are still teaching the stuff they did last week. I feel really bad for the dozen or so people that went through a week of this. 40 hours of doing things that they would never do in their own personal life, all in the hopes that doing it would help them get people to buy from them. But yet for a whole week, these dozen people spent their week learning how to kowtow to complete strangers just in the hope it would help them pay their bills. The crazy part? The guy conducting the sales training hasn't even been in sales for 20 years. That's right, 20 years. But look, I get it. I wasn't any different when I got started. Point blank, I didn't even know how to sell either. But I did the same thing that these dozen people were taught to do. That's overcome objections, build rapport, sell benefits, and give out free cookies. Okay, well, I made up the last one, but admit it, if it worked, wouldn't you do it too? I know I would. But I want to focus on the one thing that leads more well-meaning salespeople to fail than anything else. That's trying to overcome someone's objections. We were all taught the same thing. In order to make the sale, you're going to have to overcome at least one objection, maybe several. But have you ever taken a step back to ask yourself if that's even true? In my life, it's so easy to go through life relying on my assumptions, on what's true and what's not. But I constantly have to remind myself to take that step back and to challenge these assumptions. It's way easier said than done, though. The first time I really remember doing this was with milk. Well, let me explain. I was in the grocery store and I saw a gallon of organic milk, and I remember asking myself, what's the difference between regular milk and organic milk? So I went home, it was before smartphones took over, and I Googled it. Holy crap. When I saw what they put in regular milk that wasn't in organic milk, it completely changed how I chose food forever. And it showed me how powerful it is to question these seldom questioned assumptions. So let's get back to overcoming objections, though. Have you ever asked yourself, what is an objection when you really think about it? Why do people give objections? What's really happening when someone gives you an objection? What's going through your prospect's mind when you try to overcome their objections? And really, when you think about it, can you avoid objections altogether? And if you can, how do you do it? Well, today we're going to focus on the first and most important question to ask. What is an objection when you really think about it? So let's start with what we're all taught about objections in pretty much every sales training we've ever gone through. We're taught that it's a normal part of the buying process. Maybe we've been taught it's an opportunity for you to showcase your expertise and earn their trust. I've even heard it's a sign they want to buy. Sounds good, right? That is the going assumption. But let's take a step back and see if this assumption holds water. Think about any time that you've given a salesperson an objection. Were you saying to yourself that you had to give an objection before he or she would let you even buy? Well, maybe you were saying to yourself that it was your job to contribute an objection so that the sales process could flow more smoothly. Nah, me neither. It's only a natural part of the process when you don't want to buy something. After all, who walks into an Apple store, finds that cool new device they want to buy, hands over their credit card, and right before they swipe it, starts to tell the blue shirt all the reasons why you don't want to buy it? It doesn't happen. Like the rest of us, you only give objections when you don't really want to buy. But maybe there's something good that can come from someone giving an objection. Maybe it's a chance for you to prove your expertise and to earn their trust. After all, how can someone really know that you know your stuff unless you're challenged to prove it? It sounds fair, right? But does that ever really go through your mind when you're looking to buy something? Yeah, you want to make sure that the real value of the product is valuable enough to buy. But admit it, when you're really on the fence, do you really expect an unbiased assessment from the guy who makes money when you buy from them? Come on. We all know the answer to that one. That guy is probably the last person you'll take their word for when buying something. I can tell you one thing. when I was trying to figure out whether I should buy the Jeep I ended up buying, the absolute last guy I would rely on was the salesman. In fact, not only was I not about to do that, I ended up getting a Carfax, I ran a Blue Book, I looked it up in Consumer Reports, and then I even took it down to a shop down the street for a thorough inspection. So I think we all know that any benefit that might be gleaned from showing your stuff is exponentially outweighed by the fact that people tend to always be skeptical of salespeople, knowing they probably have an ulterior motive for showing their stuff. But more on this in a minute. I mentioned before that I've even heard the supposed experts say that it's a sign that someone wants to buy from you. I'm really still trying to figure that one out. How is it that someone is so interested in buying that their first reaction is to put up resistance? Let me ask you this. If someone were handing out $50 bills on the street, how many people would have the guts to give an objection instead of just taking the cash while it was still there? It wouldn't happen, ever. But why? The answer is actually really simple. It's because they want the cash. Think about it. You see, in the end, no matter what your sales trainer tells you, no matter what the famous author in the bookstore tells you, an objection is simply someone telling you they don't want what you're selling. No means no. Every woman knows this, and every man better. When you and I, and pretty much every single one of your prospects, gives you an objection, it's for one reason. They mean what they say. Wouldn't you rather just that they start from the yes and tell you that they want to buy from you? Wouldn't it make a lot more sense and a lot more money if you never had to overcome objections to begin with? Well, in the next video, I'm actually going to take you on that next step in the journey to experience what it's like to never have to overcome an objection again. I'm also going to show you why you're getting objections from your prospects in the first place. There's only a couple of reasons why people do this. So learn how to avoid these, and you'll be on the road to a life where all your prospects turn you into an order taker. It's pretty awesome. I'll see you then, guys.